similar, not same. Okay guys, so time to talk about the hot topic of the day. Is Varaha Roopam a copy of Navarasa by Thaikkuram Bridge? And my thoughts or verdict on this. If you don't want to listen to the entire analysis, here's the short answer for you. Yes, I find it similar, but similar does not mean plagiarism. Especially in the world of art, okay? Now, my reason for discussing this issue is whether there is or even should be a plagiarism case for this or not. Okay, firstly, not everyone's views on this issue need to be taken seriously. There are basically two kinds of listeners and musicians who are very, very underinformed to talk about this. The first category of people are fans of metal music and metal musicians themselves, particularly those who have zero knowledge of Indian classical music. Why? Because to them, any Indian classical composition arranged with heavy metal guitar riffs and drumming would sound similar. I'm not talking about all metalheads, but a large chunk of them have absolutely no musical inclination to anything other than pretty obscure kinds of subgenres of metal. And so if tomorrow Prasanna's Kalyani Connection is arranged in a metal way, they'll call even that a copy of Navarasa. Now, the second category of people whose opinion need not be taken seriously are people with absolutely zero inclination towards metal, both non-metal audiences and non-metal musicians. Because to them, anything with heavy distortion guitars and metal drumming would sound like the same song. And they aren't bad people for viewing things this way, both the metalhead who finds all fusion tracks similar and the non-metalhead who finds all metal songs similar. I don't blame them. See, that's just how human brain works. Unless you are familiarized with a particular and peculiar category of thing, your brain cannot process the nuances inside that category of whatever thing we are discussing. A great example would be in this case, race and ethnicity. I know it's politically incorrect to say these things, but you know in your heart that unless you watch a whole lot of Korean and Japanese films or web series, you can't distinguish one actor or actress from the other, isn't it? Same way, I'm sure other races and ethnicities would find some other homogeneous groups people to be similar or near identical in their facial features, but which is in fact not similar. So who can really comment on it? I'd say people who have experience in both metal and non-metal, and preferably in Indian classical along with metal. Okay, now let's discuss what are the differences between the two songs. Firstly, the order of the notes of the vocal melody, the order of the notes of the intro guitar arpeggio, the order of the notes of the intro nadaswaram in Varaha Roopam are absolutely different from any section or melody or phrase in Navarasa. I bring this up as my first point because until now we have looked upon plagiarism as direct copy-pasting of vocal melodies in a particular song from vocal melodies of other songs or from instrumental sections of other songs. For example, countless songs by Pritam, Bapi Lahiri, some by R.D. Burman, then the modern Bengal Tollywood composer Arindam Chatterjee, whose two big hits, Thik Emon Bhabe and Egiye De, are copied from Ludovico Einaudí's piano piece called I Giorni and I'm Coming Home by P. Diddy, respectively in that order. But then, Ed Sheeran gets accused of plagiarism for similarities and not direct copy-pasting of vocal melodies. He has now won the court battle, but again, if you ask any human being with 2 ears, they would admit that his song Thinking Out Loud is similar to Marvin Gaye's song Let's Get It On. But does that mean a copy? We'll come to that later. What happened in the Ed Sheeran case and some similar plagiarism accusations in recent years is that people have been accusing people of copying songs even for similar arrangement ideas or chord progressions. Now, here is my problem with this idea. No one owns the right to any chords, no one owns the right to any chord progression, and no one owns the right to any particular Indian classical raga, and definitely no one owns the right to arrange a raga in a metal way. And why is that? Because while there are only 12 musical notes, there are millions of musicians on planet Earth. In my humble opinion, that is the beginning and end of this entire controversy. Navarasa and Varaha Roopam are both compositions based on the same raga and both are arranged in the same subgenre of metal. Now, in all fairness, there is one particular chord progression which is exceptionally similar in these two songs. That is this application of D minor and G sharp major. There's this part in Navarasa that and this part in Varaha Roopam sounds like Varishmita Vadanam. Now, my question is, does anyone own the rights to D minor? Does anyone own the rights to the idea of using D minor and G sharp major consecutively? And does anyone own the rights to using D minor and G sharp major if arranged in a metal way? Or does anyone own the rights to using D minor and G sharp major consecutively if it happens to be in a raga based composition arranged in a heavy metal way? Really, if you really want to go that route, here are some examples of why that's a lame argument. Check this out. Now, you've heard this chord progression in countless instrumental and epic music tracks for your workout playlist or motivational speeches, right? Now let me show you where else you've heard this. I've become so numb, become so tired, so much more. Now, this is a song called Numb by the band Linkin Park. Now here's another example. Crawling in my skin, these wounds they will not heal. This is a song called Crawling by Linkin Park. Now here's another example. I can't feel the way I did before. Don't turn your back on me, I won't be ignored. Time won't heal. Now this is a song called Faint by Linkin Park. And here's another fun example. God paged me, you'll never see the life God told me. Okay, this song is called Got the Life by a band called Korn. And then there's this example. Another slowly. This is a song called Zombies, I forgot, by a band called The Cranberries. Then there is Just Go to Hell, oh Dil, just go to hell, Dil. Now, some of these songs will sound similar to your ears and some will sound different depending on your overall music taste and what you listen to. But what we can conclude here is that no one owns a chord progression, no matter how distinct it is. Now, let's talk about the genre issue. My argument is that I am looking at Navarasa and Varaha Roopam as two fabulous songs with their own differences, but inside the same genre, which you can call Carnatic metal perhaps. Now here, you must keep in mind two things. Some chord progressions just work for some genres, and some chords will have to go with some ragas if you want to stay within those ragas. These two are the reasons that anytime anyone in the future in the world arranges a heavy metal song using the particular raga used in Navarasa and Varaha Roopam, they will sound similar. And they will sound similar to your ears if you're not into these genres particularly. For example, ask any non-metal audience. Make them listen to any song by any band before Meshuggah started their distinct brand of metal. Ask your father or mother or grandparents. Do you think they can distinguish any song by Megadeth versus any song by Metallica? Forget even that. Do you think they can even distinguish any of Metallica's own songs from one another until they started getting into more sweeter and emotional melody-based compositions? Why? Because they are really similar. But then, I as a metal fan have spent years listening to all those songs on loop for years, for months, for 24/7. They have similar chord progressions, similar tempos, similar drumming, similar guitar riffs, everything. Let me give you a funny personal example. When I was in the phase where I didn't listen to anything except metal, I made a very senior and experienced singer who specializes in classic Bollywood songs and is like an elder brother to me. I made him listen to two amazing Bengali heavy metal songs by the Bangladeshi band Orthoheen. And he said, "Yeah, so what? What's special about this? It's like any other band song I've heard." That reaction really threw me off, and it took me days to realize what he meant or why he didn't like those two songs. It was because of two particular things. He was expecting a band specializing in a genre called heavy metal to not do just heavy metal songs and instead have different kinds of songs in their album, just like he is used to seeing in film song albums. Secondly, that same point, all metal sounded similar to him, and therefore he didn't feel like listening to the particular nuances inside the two separate songs. Now here's some examples of some common commercial songs. Let's say, are you saying you haven't heard more than one song in this chord progression arranged in similar ways? Here's a common chord progression from the Kishore Kumar era. ऐसा कोई साथी हो, ऐसा कोई प्रेमी हो, So Nila Nila Ambar Par is one example, but there are countless songs from that era in this same chord progression, using the same instrument choices and even singing styles that were just part of that era. That's a genre in itself. An acoustic guitar for strumming, a 12-string acoustic guitar for playing passing filler lines, a very soft drums played with brush, with or without some bongos and congas, etc. So up till now, on a conceptual level, I've argued why Varaha Roopam cannot be considered a copy of Navarasa. But that does not mean that Rishab Shetty or B. Ajaneesh Loknath didn't have Navarasa in mind while making this song. Now here's a crash course on why that's not a wrong thing. Look guys, there are three kinds of directors or any kind of clients that composers and arrangers have to work with. Firstly, there's the guy who gives you a reference song and says, I want a song or arrangement that is similar to this particular song I like. And the composer or arranger delivers that song and everyone goes home happy. Second, there are some clients who have so much faith or courage that they say to the music team that make whatever you want, I'm fine with it. And let me tell you, that happens only about probably 1 to 2% of the songs in the entire industry of the entire nation, no matter which country on earth actually. Now, there's also a third kind of client, one who basically lacks vision for their project and says to the music team that I give you full freedom. I don't understand music, you understand music. Do whatever sounds good, or it just has to sound different. And after giving these absolutely vague and subjective briefings, then rejects 90% of your creation, because this is not what he had in mind. So I like the fact that Rishab Shetty had a clear vision for the scenes where he probably decided that he would like to have a song like Navarasa as the background score. And I do think B. Ajaneesh Loknath worked on his song based on this reference and did not copy one single melody line or phrase from the Navarasa song. And now he or the producers of Kantara are getting sued for this. For what? For having a distinct clear vision for a song? Or for having a vision based on the song by a band whose genre is too distinct? Now, how to prevent these situations? In my opinion, you cannot. Clients must always have some vision for their project, otherwise only a miracle will lead them to obtaining a song from the music team that he actually likes. Or else, he will either not like the song and ask for 50 changes after the song is done, or end up using that song anyway and he's not even happy about it. Both of which are bad situations. There could be another way, of course, that the director says, yeah bro, whatever song you make, I'm happy with it. But I don't know how practical or feasible an expectation that is. Well, if any director says that to me and actually follows his word, I'd be very happy. But if we conclude that this business of reference tracks isn't going to magically disappear tomorrow, I don't see why a brilliant song like Varaha Roopam should be punished. Also, some of the breaks or breakdowns that happen in Navarasa also happen in Varaha Roopam. And again, every metal song post 2004 has a breakdown, 90% of which are exact copies of each other. But even if you sue Kantara for this, you are declaring Navarasa the owners of this, of the idea of that particular kind of breakdown. But again, why did that happen? Why did B. Ajaneesh Loknath incorporate a similar breakdown? Well, that's what happens when you make a movie with 16 crores. My guess is, from shot selection and possibly to final edit, everything was done keeping Navarasa in mind, and the composer probably delivered the final song after the edit was done. So, he would have to follow some of the incidents and phenomenons of the Navarasa song. Well, this is exactly how 99% of Indian film projects happen, so all Ajaneesh could do was avoid making the composition similar to Navarasa, and that is exactly what he did. And Bollywood also does this, but that's even with 200-300 crore budget, but that's because most of their money is going to the hero, the PR firm and the middleman agencies. So if Thaikudam Bridge wins this lawsuit and as a result, the economics of the industry or the entire nation changes, that would be fascinating. But I believe that's a fairy tale. But if not, what we are looking at is unnecessary humiliation and scapegoating of a director with a fabulous vision and a composer who made a great song while building upon the ideas presented by another great song. And that happens with every composition any musician on earth makes. Everyone is building upon ideas that he saw in other great ideas. And there is one other unignorable side to all this. I don't think anyone, including and especially Thaikudam Bridge, would have given a shit about Varaha Roopam if Kantara had not become such a big hit. I think the makers of Kantara are kind of in a similar spot that I have been in with my Kantara review. They did not know this movie was going to be such a big deal. If they did, if Hombale knew people would relate to this movie so much, they would actually pour in more money. But I think all this has taken them by surprise. And I did not know my Kantara review would be seen by 71,000 people. A lot of people have expressed their problem about me using the F word generously all over the video and are saying that you shouldn't have used it because you must know senior people are watching, young people are watching, old women are watching, etc. Well, no, I did not know these people were watching. See my other videos. All of them on an average have 200 to 300 views. I thought it would be watched by the 400 followers I have on Instagram, who have never had a problem with me using F words. Anyway, now what's the way forward for this particular ugly mess that we are in, even though otherwise it was a very divine and spiritual wave that we all have been in ever since the release of Kantara. I think a public acknowledgement can be made that the makers of Kantara love and respect the Navarasa song, and therefore decided to incorporate that genre into their film. And I personally hope that this genre really takes off and we see more Carnatic metal songs in every film in India. Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Ramyaka